you got me. I can see them just making their way across. Now, I can honestly say that, you know, when you start telling people stories about yourself, that's what I do too much, so I do apologise. But my granddad introduced me to the Superman movie, and he died when I was 9. So when the New Adventures of Superman came out in the UK, it was me and my nana who watched it in memory of my granddad, which was awesome. And there are so many memories for me watching it. There's so many memories of walking past the poster of Dean in my all-girls school that we had. So my class going, morning, Dean. And then we'd leave home and go, see you, Dean. He officially won the sexiest man in our class. Yes, you did, Dean. And Desperate Housewives, I mean, come on. This panel's about Superman, but can I have a cheer for Desperate Housewives? It is my absolute honour and privilege to bring on stage, first of all, James. James is coming on stage today because he's dressed as somebody. Can you guess who he is? He's a huge fan, and we've invited him on stage so that he can be a part of this panel. Dean said that it was okay, so Superman, take your place. He is going to be here for the panel. And I'm really honoured to be bringing on stage two amazing people. Please welcome Teri and Dean Cain, everyone! And you can do better than that, Liverpool, come on! Come on, keep it going, they're not sat down yet.
Hello, hello.
He's got the wrong suit on. Am I crazy? Well done.
Oh, do you know what's amazing? The fact that you are making people's day by doing stuff like this. How does that feel for yourselves to be a part of something that makes people go weak at the knees and thinking, I'm shaking Superman's hand?
Odd. It feels odd. It's very humbling, but it's an odd thing. But it's wonderful to have played the character and be a part of it, and that people, you know, obviously he has the wrong suit on, but outside of that, it's great. I see some that have the correct S's out there. That makes me happy. Thank you. But no, it's fun to watch it happen. It's fun to watch it evolve, and it's lovely to be still in that world. You know, I see a lot of the correct S's actually.
Stand up if you've got a correct S on. Come on.
There's one.
Oh wow! Look at that.
There we go. Very good job.
That's a seriously correct over there.
Yes. Thank you. Will you guys talk to this guy for me? Might take like 3 or 4 people to get him too, because
on a slightly more like serious answer to what you were asking. Like I've had quite a few people, and I know you have too, like come up to me and share just some sort of really emotional, strong meaning in their life of what our show or one of our shows or either of us meant to them in some sort of journey of their life. And I feel great that we were able to be there for them in some way that was inspiring. But it also reminds me that, like, celebrity aside, you just never know how you might be able to affect someone, like even just with a smile or opening a door at a grocery store or letting somebody cut in line in front of you, or you know what I mean? Like, we all have the power to help each other every single day, and so it kind of reminds me of that. Even though we're sort of doing it in, I guess, a celebrity sort of way, I know as a human being we can all do that for each other. So you all reminded me of that today, and that made me feel really great, so thank you.
That's a wonderful thing.
So I know that the two of you have had amazing careers with some really incredible films and TV that you've done, but this is like a Superman panel. So what we'll do is we're going to throw it out and we'll ask some Superman questions, but if anybody has any questions that's about anything else, feel free to ask it, okay? So I'm going to go straight to the audience because we've got a massive crowd here. So I'm sure we'll see a sea of people. Damien, do you want to come down here? There's a few people. There's 2 people here. So if you, do you want to go just over here? Yeah, the 2 of you just queue up. Here we go.
There we go. Doesn't matter. it's a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you very much. My name is Javier, and just to echo the stories before, you guys, your show meant a lot to me. I was stuck on dialysis machine when your show was out, and you helped me get, sort of escape from what was going on next to me, just dive into this wonderful world. And so thank you for that anyway.
Thank you,
Glad
Javier.
we could help.
That's awesome.
Thank you. My question is though, did you feel that the show stopped a bit prematurely? I felt personally, I'm sure the other fans around here felt it could have gone on further. Was there any material left that could have been done? I mean, season 4 it felt a bit too short.
Well, there's a complicated answer to that, but yes, I think it could have gone on a lot longer. We were picked up for a season 5. We were going to go into a season 5, but someone had to go and get pregnant. It wasn't me. I mean, it wasn't me that got pregnant, but it also wasn't me. You got it, all right. But we were picked up for season 5, and I think it could have gone on a lot longer. And that's the things we talk about now. Is I think it'd be really fun to pick up with these characters 25 years, 20 later, and see what's going on with them and see where their lives are. So I think there's enough material because the show is a romance, and a relationship can go and does go on forever. So I would love to see it. I would love to see it continue now. I'd love to see what they're up to and see what's going on. And if they've met any half human, half Kryptonian kids, or what would be happening, I don't know. Teri?
Yes, I agree.
There we go.
Yeah, but 25 years later, like, you might have broken up and you might be on Tinder, swiping left, swiping right. There's loads of stuff, and then you could have a massive, oh my God, no, we love each other, get back together.
I totally agree. That would be really interesting, especially the Tinder part.
Tinder, yeah, I was thinking that. I didn't get past Tinder. I was like, wow, all right. Like Clark can't get any dates, but Superman gets a lot of. I don't even know.
Hi, my name is James. Thank you very much for coming. I think on behalf of everybody, thank you so much for coming to this. My question really is that what pressure did you feel taking on these iconic parts, and what happened with the casting for both of you? Because obviously you stepped into some really big shoes. You had Chris Reeve, Margot Kidder, and what did you do? Because your big thing obviously is that the characters you played were really the difference with them. Clark was no longer this bumbling fool. Lois was
Thank God.
Yeah, and Lois was really this character at that point compared to probably what we'd seen with Margot. A real ball-busting reporter that went out and did stuff. So I just want to know a bit about the casting process, and also just a big thank you from me for being my Superman and Lois Lane.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I don't know if you felt this way. I feel like first and foremost, I approached it from it was a really unbelievably well-written pilot. Like, if you took away that it was Lois and Clark, it was just, I didn't look at it as a Superman thing. It was more like these two characters, and it was just this magical pilot. It was so well written. It really, for me, and probably because I wasn't the one putting on the cape and the tights, but it was much easier for me to just approach it as this woman, this reporter, this independent, vulnerable, but also did need love but struggled with that balance and all of those complicated things women feel that are out of a comic book character, but just a real woman. And so often I was not thinking that I was in a Superman story. I was just being in a real human story. But then there'd be the part where we'd fly around, and then I'd realize, oh yeah, wait, this is a little different and romantic. And then so secondary for me was becoming aware of and sort of honoring and enjoying the part of being part of the Superman saga. But that was sort of second for me, which is why I can never answer any of the trivia questions.
Well, I think that's what you said is actually 100% right. The same thing, even with Clark Kent, wasn't written as this is Superman in the whole thing. It was something we developed as it went on, and in the way it was written for us, Deborah Joy Levine, who wrote the pilot and created it, Clark was the guy. Clark was the character, and the disguise was putting on the Superman suit. So of course we had a lot of fun with Mom designing a suit and going through that, and that was a lot of fun. And so that was to keep the anonymity of Clark, and that was different than had been done before. And certainly the show was a romance and a lot of comedy. She's very funny, and so it worked that way. It didn't feel like I was jumping into Christopher Reeve's boots and cape and things like that. He's still the Superman I think of when I think of Superman. But that, and so when yeah, he is, certainly. And so I sort of think of the George Reeves version of Clark Kent too, which was much more closely aligned to my Clark Kent. So I think it was more like the characters were really fleshed out, and we didn't feel the pressure of it. It's only after doing the show for a long time and then realizing that you've taken sort of the mantle, then you go, wow, that's a lot of pressure, but it's already done. So perfect. Thank you for that. Good question.
Hi. How's it like being the main character?
Main character on Superman?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you.
And there you have it.
No, go ahead.
See, it just right. She just does it. That's all. I just have to react to that. It was very cool to be Superman. It was very cool to fly around and do those things. It was spectacular. It's one of those things you can't even imagine. You could probably imagine it, but I could never imagine that I would have played that character as a young man. Actually, as a young man, I thought it was real. So, and for anybody who is out there who doesn't know it's not real, it is real. Just don't want to be the guy who says, Santa Claus. No, I'm not even gonna. No. I didn't say it. I did not say it. Superman is real.
First of all, thanks. I like your show.
Thank you.
Like the current Lex Luthor has hair and stuff. Would you rather him with hair or without hair?
Great question.
I don't know.
I don't know. You almost married him in our show, so you answered that one.
And he was great.
He was. John Shea.
John Shea was so great, and yes,
he had
did
hair.
have hair, but also.
He did go bald for a little bit too.
And also great without hair. That's a really good question.
I prefer Lex Luthor to be bald, because then I can spot him more easily. And I can grab his head like a little cue ball and just, no.
See, I was gonna say it'd be good if he had hair, because you could grab his hair and,
Superman's not really a hair puller. He's more of a...
But Lois, okay, it's a family show. It's a family panel. Next question.
Hey, it's Sebastian again. First of all, Teri, you look fabulous. I really like your dresses, both yesterday and today.
Thank you very much.
So, some actors stick to their iconic roles in people's mind, in producers' mind. So my question is, how playing Lois and Clark affected your careers?
Well, I mean, people talk about the Superman curse. But I felt, and I don't know. Arguably, Susan Meyer was a probably even bigger part for me than Lois Lane. So, thank you. That's the part I won awards for, and that show was on 7 years.
She should have won awards for Lois.
Oh,
that's for sure.
That's so sweet.
Definitely.
But anyway, I think about my career like, wow, that was a really big moment for me, being able to lose Lois Lane and become Susan Meyer. And that doesn't happen for everybody that gets into iconic roles. And so I felt really grateful that I got that part and that people seem to respond to it. And but I love both of those women. I love both of those shows. I love both of those experiences in different ways and equally. I mean, I just consider myself really grateful.
It's funny. People will identify certain people with Friends. Oh, that's Ross from Friends or whatever, and we'll do that. I'll even do, oh, there goes Ross from Friends or whatever it happens to be. But I never felt pigeonholed as the character. I've been able to do a ton of work since, and don't really feel that. Fame is a weird thing. I started doing Ripley's Believe It or Not probably 4 or 5 years after Lois and Clark, and I was in the airport in Atlanta, and I was going to meet with the people for that, and I was going to get my bags, and the kid came running up, and he goes, you're, and I was waiting for him to say Superman, and he goes, you're that guy from Ripley's Believe It or Not. And I realized, yep, that's how quick it changes, you know. Nowadays with the internet and the things that are out and about, it's a lot different because people can discover old shows and things like that. But I think it's wonderful that people will identify you with a character. If I was never able to work as anything other than Superman, that would be a bummer, but that certainly hasn't been the case. And so I love it, and I don't mind being associated with the character. When I walk down the street, it's more often than not that I hear, was that Superman? Was that? And that's fine, and I think it's a great thing. But still able to do a lot of other films and do a lot of other work, so it's a nice thing. The Comic-Cons, it's mostly Superman, and that's just fine. Thanks, Sebastian.
Hi. Hi. Nice to see you both. And Mr. Cain, you still look really nice.
Why, thank you very much.
I will second that.
All right.
We shall see.
I third.
I fall. Right, my question is to Mr. Cain. Obviously, you also played in Smallville and Supergirl, and I remember seeing you in Smallville, but you were playing a supervillain, if I remember.
Yes.
How did it feel to just change from superhero to a villain?
Well, that was interesting because it was still within the Superman world, and Tom Welling and I had to fight a couple of times and do things like that. By the way, Tom Welling's a big guy. I'm good size, but he's a big guy. I was like, wow, that's a big dude. So it was really interesting to be on the other side of that, and it was a lot of fun. But I love being in that world. There was one scene we were doing near the end where Superman, or Clark Kent, I guess it was for him, because he didn't really, no flights, no tights. I think that was in his contract. He didn't wear tights. Yeah, and he didn't fly. But he, in this scene, we were all in together. He's supposed to super speed through something and grab something. So we were rehearsing it, and the other actors have to move slowly, and he comes going through, and he was going, in the rehearsal, he's like, and I was like, Tom, we don't do that. Don't do the sound effects. But it was really interesting being there and being part of that. And it was wonderful to see the sort of the mantle passed on to another guy. It was fun, it was completely comfortable. And we were actually gonna do more episodes, but we just couldn't work out the schedules, and that was a lot of fun. So I didn't mind, coming in and being the bad guy. Plus, if you guest star on a show, very rarely do you get to be a good guy, because you're always the troublemaker that goes on, and the heroes have to do their job. But it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Where's Daily go? Oh, question over here from Superman.
Hi, nice to meet you. You've done really well with Lois and Clark. Absolutely loved it, and then you've both got a role in Smallville and Supergirl. But with the Lois and Clark, what had to be your favourite episode in the series? I think for me it was when Superman lost his powers and then Lois became Ultra Woman. That for me was my favourite one, but what was yours?
Well, I think we got this asked yesterday, and I think it reminded me that I need to go back and watch the show. Which I really want to do that, and I'm not sure if it's a really great idea or.
I think it's a good idea.
Well, no, but it could be horribly desperate for me to sit around all weekend binge watching myself on Netflix.
Unfortunately, it's not on Netflix.
Oh, it's not on Netflix. Okay, binge watching myself on DVD.
There we go. No, it's on the DC streaming universe.
Oh, that's true. Right? That's right. That's right. Oh no, I knew that.
Yeah, but you'd have to pay for that.
Oh, I would. Anyway. I guess I could do that. But that said, in my memory, and I said this yesterday, I really love the pilot, and I remember loving the episode Honeymoon in Metropolis. Because I think, wasn't there a scene in the bathtub?
Yes, there was.
And I love baths. Was I in it, or were you in it? Or were we in it together?
No, you were
I was in it.
You were in it.
Yeah, and there were bubbles, right? Yeah, I could take that all day. That's good.
I'm fine with it as well. That works well for me. My favorite episode, and we said it yesterday, was when Clark proposes to Lois, and he says, ask her to marry him, and she asks who's asking, Clark or Superman. To me, that was one of the most iconic moments of the show, because it's the essence of the whole show. And her knowing that he was the same person, and that I just loved that part of it. So that had that special magical feel to me, and to me that's still my favorite part of the show. Thank you.
I am really sorry. This is the last question.
That went fast, right?
I know. I'm sorry.
Hi.
It's with this chap just at the back.
Hi. I just want to say thank you for being my Superman and Lois Lane.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. my question is, when you did Supergirl, did you enjoy it as much as Lois Lane and Superman?
No.
Really? Okay. Well,
Not as much. No.
Well,
you better be careful on this answer.
Oh, okay.
Young
Well,
lady.
what I was going to say, and I think you'll agree with me here, that because when you get far away from something, so what it had been, I don't know when we did Supergirl, like what's it been, 20 years?
Yeah, decades.
So, okay.
Decades.
So you get that far away from it, and it allows you to look back on it like so fondly, and so, I mean, I just feel nothing but warmth. But when you're doing it, you're working a lot of hours in it, and you can lose sight of the joy of it because it's just so hard and you're so fried, you know. But so by the time I think I got to Supergirl, I guess I really had a good time because I was playing a villain, and I'd never been that evil and with the crown and the great dress and the outfit, and that was really fun. And it's a great cast and a great group of people. They really have a really good setup there. But I think like just having in you that you have this great memory of Lois and Clark, and you know you're sort of part of this whole big universe, I don't know, it allowed me to have a really good time on Supergirl. Plus, I actually enjoyed it not being my show. Like, you know, they're wonderful, Melissa and the whole cast, but I mean, like when it was our show, I think they'll enjoy Supergirl more when they get 10 years out of it. You know, like when you're in it and it's your show, it's a lot of pressure and a lot of hours. And when you're the guest, you're just like, Queen Rhea, now I'm going to my hotel and having a martini. Good luck. You know, like it's just a little bit easier, and so you can just have a little bit more fun with it. So I actually had a really good time.
I enjoyed it as well, but when you have the show and there's something about carrying a show and doing that, and it's a lot of sacrifice and a lot of work. And you look back at life, and this is probably true for anything that's been difficult or something you've achieved in your life. You look back at it and you know how valuable it is because you know what it cost you. You know the pain of what you had to go through and the sacrifice and the things you had to give up and the time. And we were there for 4 years every day. And I think about, I was in college for 4 years. Wow. You know, in college was a period of time I look at, and I hold that as a time of my life or a phase of my life. And Lois and Clark was just as long. In fact, it was longer. And so I look back at that extremely fondly, and you go, wow, that took a lot of work. It took a lot of sacrifice. But then you have this product to show for it. You've got, in our case, 87 hours or 88 hours of...
And I think, I mean, just, you know, to end, like, I think we're luckier than most in that I think beyond a shadow of a doubt, there are so many of you that tell us the most lovely story, which is you grew up watching this show, and then you had children that you now show the show to. And the fact that we get to hear that over and over, that we get to be a part of these fathers and sons and mothers and daughters who have these generational memories, I mean, that's not very many people get to touch that many people's lives, and that is really special. So we feel lucky, and thank you very much.
Seriously, thank you. Thanks for having us here, and thanks for being a part of this. We really, really appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. You can do better than that. It's Teri Hatcher and Dean Cain. Come on! And of course, James, the wrong Superman. Come on, one last cheer, everybody. First time in the UK for Teri. You can do better than that. Come on. More Power Rangers coming up in a few minutes, ladies and gents.
Touch my belly. 13-year-old is so excited. It's gonna be a super baby!